Hello everyone! Hello and welcome to this new live session around Xen Orchestra 5.7t already. So this is a new release, and before going further and letting Oliver explain you all the new stuff that we will have in this version, I just wanted to say a note about the waiting screen that you just saw. It is indeed our new company logo, so it's a little bit a preview exclusive to you because it's not yet something we have communicated around, but expect to see more during the months of May, especially on the Vates blog, in which we will explain a little bit why we choose this logo and why we changed it for Vates. I won't expand a lot more on that aspect, and we will go directly into this new release. So, Oliver, here you go.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. So today is a release day on 5.7t. So there's multiple topics covered, but we'll start with our progress on Lite. So as you might remember, Lite is meant to be an alternative to Xen Orchestra as a small, lightweight version of Xen Orchestra directly bundled into your hosts. So we announced it 3 or 4 months ago, but now we started to build component after component. So there's a lot of work behind the scene, but to give you a rough idea, we made a screenshot of a new dashboard component. That's just a start. We also built this new version that's available directly into your host if you want to take a look. There's a link in the blog post on how to follow those instructions in the little green block if you want to test it. So it's very, very, pre-alpha, we said, but that's the way we are working. Release it every month, new, components, panels, and so on. So it's going to the right direction. And again, if you remember, this is also work we are doing with the UX designer, helping us to shape it correctly. And those same components, or partly, will be reused for Xen Orchestra version 6. That will be a completely revamped UI, amongst other things. There's also a table preview, but this is not yet visible. But the overall goal is to continue to work on those components. So in terms of usable features that you might enjoy right now in this latest channel of Xen Orchestra is the Restore Health Check. So this feature was asked during a live or participated with Tom from Lawrence System. We'll probably put the link in the description. So he got a pretty nice YouTube channel talking about a lot of different topics, including XCPNG. And during this live, we had the discussion with himself and its community about why not having a way to check the state of a backup. So the goal of the Restore Health Check features is to be able, with a simple push on a button, to remove the network card of the VM that you will import automatically, boot it, check if there's guest tool are up, and if it's the case, then it's fine, we remove the VM. So it's made to not interfere with your existing running virtual machines. That's why we cut the network, but it's a right way to be sure that your backup are working the way you want and the way you expected. So we use the guest tools because it's a program that's directly inside the guest operating system. So if they are up and running, it means that at least you could boot the system, which is a good first step to be sure that the backup could be at least able to boot and accessible. The goal, obviously, of this feature is to go beyond a button that you will click to do all of that, but to plan, to schedule that kind of restore health check. So you will be sure in a fully automated way that your backup are, in a good shape. So expect automation coming in the next releases. I don't know, maybe not next month, because there's a lot of things to square about the way to schedule that, how many VMs to restore at once, or should we get some, random way to restore those machines. So that's why we are still thinking about it. But anyway, that's the good start of this feature, which is really important. After that, it's all about cache, especially on the network side of things. So it's a DNS cache. So we had reports from some users on our forum, and thanks for that, about Xen Orchestra doing a huge number of DNS queries. And in general, that's I would say not abnormal per se. If you have a local, I don't know, cache on your machine, on your system, that will do the trick, but some people doesn't have this. So we decided to build the cache directly inside the application itself, and it's reducing a lot the DNS calls that we are doing, something by maybe an order or 2 order of magnitude. So it might be a great way to reduce the load and to do useless, I would say, things that calls that could be made by Xen Orchestra itself. After that, we got the HTTP proxy and XO proxy. So basically, what it is the way to be able to access multiple XCPNG hosts remotely. For example, as you can see on this image, you have a two situation with or without this proxy. Without it, if you have a remote site, let's call site B, you will have to join directly the API of each machine or each pool, it doesn't matter. And with the proxy, if you deploy a Xen Orchestra proxy on your site B, you could directly connect through the proxy to access all the rest of the infrastructure. So that's a really great way to avoid exposing things outside. We already did that, if you remember, with something called a reverse proxy within the proxy, but it wasn't good enough in our perspective. We couldn't have all the bells and whistles of having a direct connection. So you also had to declare manually all the IP of your hosts in the reverse proxy. So this is all fixed with this direct HTTP proxy bundled inside the XO proxy. This feature is not exposed directly in the graphical interface right now, but this will probably come in the future, depending on the feedback you have. But we put a documentation on how to do it on the command line right now. Okay, let's go for the next feature then, the OVA Export. So this is a kind of feature we wanted to do already maybe 4 or 6 months ago, but we had a lot of problems to make it because it's not trivial to build an OVA with VMDK disk inside it. But clearly our goal is now we are able already to import an OVA, but also to be interoperable with VMware, VirtualBox, or any other virtualization platform. So the message is to say that we are confident that if you run XCPNG in Xen Orchestra, then if you want to go elsewhere, no problem, you can do it. We built that, so if you want even to send a VM built with XCPNG to someone using VMware, no problem, you can do it now with Xen Orchestra. The only existing downside of this feature right now, it's a bit slower than a regular export. But since it's not something you are doing all your days, we found it acceptable. But obviously, feedback is welcome if it's too slow for you. And finally, the latest stuff that we are releasing this month is a kind of a special feature, I would say. So ideally, what we'd like to have since years in Xen Orchestra is the ability to upload directly an ISO on an ISO repository, but sadly, there's no explicit methods to do that into the ZAPI, the API of XCPNG. So we thought that we couldn't do it. Then it landed in our backlog on XCPNG side. Since we forked Xen Server, we could probably add this. And we realized, out our great surprise, that with some tweaks, let's call it like that, we can actually upload an ISO into a ISO storage repository. So this is very convenient. It allows you to make a copy of your ISO manually in the SR. You just have to drag and drop it. And for the next release, we'll add some various links into the UI. So even within the core of Xen Orchestra, when you create a VM or when you go to the console view of a VM and you can select an ISO, then you will be able to also upload an ISO from there. So this is a minor improvement that we'll do for the next release, but nowadays you can already do that from Xen Orchestra doing a disk import in the right ISO repository, and it works outside the box. So this is it for this release. I hope those new features will suit you and you will like it. If you have questions right now or in the next seconds, go ahead. And if you don't, no biggie. You can, ask anything you like later on the forum, and I will let Mark continue the end of this presentation.
Yeah, just to conclude, just know that this release is already available, so you can already, for the latest release branch on your Xen Orchestra, so you can already download it and try it in your infrastructure. We are always welcome for feedback, so please, if you have any question, go ahead, sorry, and feel free to contact us by any other way if you have a question later. Okay, thank you everyone. And see you next month for the next live session.
Bye-bye.
Bye.